If you like this video, share it on social media. This is a new channel and it helps out a lot. Hey, the film guy here. Sorry as this video is a little bit late, but we have been busy getting everything ready for the early screening. But today we are breaking down the visual directing style of Zack Snyder. The good, the bad, and the in-between. This is Direct Genetics. With the release of Batman v Superman, breaking down Zack Snyder's style just made sense. I know the majority of people didn't love Batman v Superman, and I'm in that group, but Zack has always been a controversial director. He has a love-hate relationship with critics and fans alike. Starting off as a commercial and music video director, and transitioning into film, you can see the influence it's had on his movies. One of the most common critiques you'll hear is that he's more style than substance. In layman's terms, beautiful but kinda sloppy or boring when it comes to the story. Now, maybe that's not 100% fair to say, but it's not exactly an incorrect statement. He seems to struggle with giving characters logical motivations, so the story can make sense and can be compelling. Based on the movie alone, can you tell me why in Batman v Superman, Lex Luthor hates Superman and wants him dead? Or in Watchmen, why Dr. Manhattan kills Rorschach but doesn't do anything about his journal being published, even though he can now again see the future? Or in Sucker Punch when, actually, that movie's just stupid. But you get the idea. He doesn't focus enough on getting his story to make sense. He's more of a visual storyteller, and he will focus on setting up visual set pieces. This has caused him to make some pretty amazing looking movies. But hopefully once he settles on a style, he can start fixing some of his other issues. Zack is a hard director to analyse for style, as each film is shot quite differently from the last. Yes, he has a few tropes, but I feel because none of his films are loved by the masses, he hasn't had the confidence to settle for a quote-unquote Zack Snyder style. Think about it this way. With Quentin Tarantino, almost all of his films are highly regarded, and his style stays very much the same over the course of most of his films. But Zack, he hasn't had the praise that Tarantino has. That's why he's always trying to do it in a new way. It feels as if he's still trying to work out how he should shoot. Zack has become one of the most influential directors over the last decade. Think about it. How many Zack Snyder style, darkish, low saturated, heavy action, high CGI films have we gotten? Quite a few. This seems to suggest that to be influential, you don't need to be an amazing director. You just need to be good enough and tell your story in a different way. Others copy him because he has good ideas. He's one of the few blockbuster directors trying new things, but he isn't great at building a plot around them. Let's look at Sucker Punch for a second and break down what it is. It's an original film, it's high budget, it's female led, and it attempted to add depth to characters and story of an action film, which is something we rarely see. These are all things people have been asking to see more of in today's cinema. Yes, this is a bad movie, but the fact that he takes these risks and tries to give us what so many other directors won't even touch is something to be praised. But I feel he is a director who suffers from an identity crisis. He doesn't know what kind of movie he wants to make. One minute his film attempts to be deep and meaningful, the next it's a stupid big generic blockbuster. Again, look at Sucker Punch. There is a really good movie in there. This movie's about a girl who attempts to save her sister from being raped. She accidentally kills her and is driven crazy because of it. She imagines instead of being sent to a mental institution, she is sent away to be a prostitute, because even that life isn't as bad as dealing with being the cause of her own sister's death. It's about loss and the fantasies we put ourselves in to escape pain, and how at the end of the day they don't really help us. But then we get into all the fantasies within fantasies that just ruins the whole film. Giant minigun wielding samurais, mechs fighting Nazis, and girls in miniskirts robbing dragons. He goes back to his trope of just doing stuff because it looks cool, not because it makes any logical sense. You can find stuff like this in all of his films. Perhaps the thing his live action films are most known for is his use of colour. They're usually very desaturated and dark, which has seemingly started a trend in Hollywood. When movies try to be gritty and realistic, they seemingly have to desaturate the colours to try and make it feel real. I think Zack does this to his own fault, as I'm having to try harder to see what the focus of the frame is. It only takes half a second longer, but it all adds up, and it gets irritating. Time remapping. Used in movies like The Matrix, this is when movies speed up and slow down time. It's just a way to stylize the action, but make sure you don't miss any of the danger of what's happening. Where other directors may speed up action/fight scenes, Zack often slows them down to emphasize the hits. He gets his actors to train before the role, so they don't have to hide behind lack of skill and bad choreography. Slow-mo. Zack loves his slow-mo. He uses it everywhere. As we've already talked about with his action, he uses it with just about everything. Drama, horror, or just trying to make the scene look more epic. There's no doubting that it's beautiful to look at, but but in my own personal opinion, he uses it a little bit too much. There doesn't seem to be a lot of logic behind it. It seems he just uses it to try and make things look cool. So much so, movies like Man of Steel, where you think he would use slow motion to show the power of Clark's speed, is surprisingly not present. It's probably the biggest influence he's had from his early career. Sometimes scenes feel more like music videos than actual scenes, because they lack logical depth. Action zooms. Made famous by its stylized use in 300, this is when a camera lens is zoomed in and focused in on a subject, almost like someone is holding the camera, seeing something, and then trying to get a better look at it. Other directors who've used this technique often use it as a stylized looking shot. Zack's intentions behind this shot seem to be a bit different. In a recent interview when he was asked about his directing style, he said, "I like to make movies that are constantly reminding you that they're movies, while immersing you deeper into the story. I want to feel like in every shot of a movie, there's irony, and it's fun for me to play with the icons and visual language of movies." This is incredibly odd. It doesn't make sense to me. It's really hard to relate to a character, when the director is constantly yet subtly trying to pull you out of the experience. Personally, I think, if you want to immerse an audience deeper into a story, surely you wouldn't want to keep reminding them that this isn't real. Knowing Zack's thought process makes watching his films a bit more interesting. There's practicality and fantasy in how all his films are shot. Take Man of Steel for example. According to Snyder, most of his shots are designed around hypothetically being in a world with a real superpowered being, and trying to film a movie with them. If you had a scene where the superpowered being flew at supersonic speeds, how would you shoot that? Could we even shoot that? Could it be a perfect shot? This in combination with super stylized compositions gives us beautiful yet odd feeling movies, where he's trying to sell a theme of fantasy and realism at the same time. And I'm not sure if that's even possible, and if it is, I don't think he's found the true way to do it. I've talked a lot about the bad, but let's talk about some of the good. Growing up wanting to be an animator, then changing his mind after seeing the original Star Wars movie, Zack's always had a good ability to translate what he sees in his head to a visual art form, and he's dedicated to that. He will often shoot something small dozens of times until he gets it the way he wants it to look. I can only think of a couple other directors who have that diligence. People often criticize him for his overuse of CGI, and yes, it is true he does use CGI and green screen a lot, but he doesn't use it as a trope. He actually likes to include a lot of real elements to his green screen work. He blends the two, where other directors wouldn't even bother. The same comes from his action sequences. Half the time you see the character do something crazy that you'd think would be CGI, it's actually the actor or stuntman on wires. He plans out all of his action scenes well beforehand, and gets his talent to train so they can pull off the stunts needed. This allows him not to have to cut and edit around poor physical performances. This is sadly something a lot of directors don't do or don't have the budget to organize. Zack storyboards everything he's going to shoot. This means drawing it down, so he knows exactly how he wants it to look before he goes to shoot. He often even has a basic 3D animation of the scene well before shooting, just so he can see if the scene works in motion. As we've discussed, Zack is a director who can produce beautiful content and shoot things other directors would think impossible. He's definitely not perfect, but he does so much good, and unlike other directors like Michael Bay, his intentions are always pure. He just struggles with overarching story and motivations with his characters. To conquer this, I feel like he needs to get out of his own head. He should do a straight up comedy or romance, something completely outside his current spectrum, and hopefully grow from the experience, and use that to produce high quality content more often. Anyways guys, that's my breakdown of Zack Snyder's directing style. What do you guys think of him? And who do you want me to break down next? If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and check out some of my other content, like my JJ Abrams or Quentin Tarantino directing style breakdowns. And if you're still here, go check out my Patreon campaign. The link is in the description. And that's it. I'll see you guys again soon.